Adventures.
Greetings, all. Chuke here from Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Well, I have a very interesting video for you today, and it's something that I was interested in, so I interviewed two different law enforcement officers. One is a municipal policeman and one is a state trooper. Now, I cannot give names or exact instances or examples of them dispatching animals just to protect their anonymity, because you got to get approval to do interviews and stuff like this. So, unfortunately, many large game are dispatched in Alaska and even in the city here because we have a large bear and moose population. They get hit by cars. There was a bear that law enforcement had to kill in my neighborhood last summer because people are stupid and leave their garbage out. Bears come around, they get used to eating garbage, then they're a danger to humans and they have to be taken out. It's a very sad thing, but it happens a lot. And I was wondering about this because I visited Cy's Sporting Goods in Kodiak years ago, and I interviewed old Cy, and he showed me this Corbon old school hollow points that he had, the old school ones with the white polymer tip, and he told me, this is what the state troopers here in Kodiak get for their Glock 20s, their 10 millimeters. This is the ammo I sell them. So I bought a box of it. I thought it was great. I tested it with Chuck, and he thought it was lousy, and he didn't believe me that the state troopers, Cy had said the state troopers bought it. He didn't buy that. I actually believe it, and believe it or not, I think hollow points can be a very humane method of dispatching even very large game, including brown bears, and we'll talk about that. It all has to do with the amount of energy you're dumping into something. You know, Chuck is a big proponent of the hard cast and solid copper projectiles, bonded projectiles, which he is right. I mean, you can, break through shoulder bones. You can get deep into vitals on a big creature. That is very important for charging. But if you're going to do a headshot or something close up, I say hollow points are better, because I've shot 9mm into actual bear skulls and raw bear heads from a kill I had made, and it goes right in and just destroys the brain. I mean, hollow points are going to go in and just do this explosive damage. When I had that 460 rolling, I videotaped the hollow points I was using, and they seemed to dump a lot more energy than the solid rounds. You would just see that gelatin just go crazy. I had the skull inside a big bucket of gelatin, and when I shot with a hollow point, it just dumped all that energy and just went crazy. I mean, they killed Harambe with hollow points. So anyways, we'll talk about that, but it was kind of surprising what I found, because I wanted to know what firearms they use and what ammunition they use. So interviewed a municipal police officer. He said that the shotguns are being phased out. I remember back in the day, there was always the shotguns in the squad car, the 12 gauge. Those are being phased out. They're not actively being used in favor. Most of the people are using an AR-15 style rifle, and they are using Hornady 55 grain tap. Now, this has dispatched a lot of animals here in town. But the officer did say he was a little disappointed with the performance. He was hoping that they might change it someday, because it does take a few shots at times to put the animal down. Now, I know a lot of people will disparage the 5.56, 223 Remington. It actually does fine against large game, including brown bears. Years ago, we were on a forum, and it was the Alaska Hunters Forum. Like, only Alaskan hunters were on there, and people were just saying, oh, the AR-15 cannot kill a brown bear. And this guy said, look what I just did. And he had a fleshed out brown bear skull that was about this big, and a hole about this big was blown in its forehead. Its brain's completely obliterated. He did it with his AR-15 with a hollow point round in it, at close range. It can be done. It's well known that in the villages in rural Alaska, it's very expensive up there. So I know people that buy AR-15s, AK-47s, Milsurp rifles, SKS, and then they just buy full metal jacket, boxes of it, because it's so expensive up there that they just want to get the cheapest ammo up there, and they're killing brown bears, polar bears, moose, caribou, walrus. My buddy used his AK-47 with wolf full metal jacket rounds and killed a 1,500-pound walrus with it. It was one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. I thought it was wonderful. So a lot of people will naysay that, but even these rifles with the 55 grain tap round are dispatching animals. As far as sidearms, he said most of the newer officers run the Glock 17 with Winchester Ranger hollow points, 147 grain. But of course, officers can buy different handguns if they qualify with it and supply their own ammunition. And there are people on the force using 45 ACP, 10 millimeter, of course, I'm a big fan, 40 Smith & Wesson, I love 40, 357 SIG, things like that. So very similar to what the state trooper told me. So he wasn't sure about what ammunition they're running in, like the 10 millimeter and 45 and 40. I suspect it's either Speer or Federal, Speer Gold Dot, Speer Lawman, Federal HST, because I get my ammunition many times from the law enforcement supply store, and those are the main rounds that they sell, is the Federal HST and the Speer Gold Dot. So I suspect that that's what they're using in those. So I do have to point out that Chuck just took a bull moose with his teeny little, he's got all these weird little rounds the size of a pea. Oh, now I'm using the Norma 64, 37. They're just teeny. They're like based on like 6.5 or, you know, 6 millimeter. Anyways, he took a bull moose. I got a buddy that when he wants his wife or one of his kids to shoot a brown bear or a big moose, he gives them a 243 AR-15, AR-10 and 243. And, you know, the bullet's going 4,000 feet per second, goes right through the vitals on that moose and just turns everything into jelly, and it just dies very quickly. So even those small rounds can do a lot of damage. A lot of people will argue with me on that. So I interviewed the state trooper. Now, of course, we have wildlife troopers and regular state troopers. He actually has a 10 millimeter, his own 10 millimeter that he bought and qualified with, and he's using 175 grain flex lock Hornady critical duty ammunition. I think that's a good round, but he did say officers are using the 9 millimeter just like on the municipal police force up close. They're doing execution style shots to the base of the skull and the neck of these giant wounded bears and moose, and it's instantly killing them, instantly paralyzing them, even in 9 millimeter, he said. They're using those. He uses 10. Other officers are using 9 millimeter, and they're dispatching the animals with that. And of course, the troopers still have the 12 gauge. It's a little more common for them to have the 12 gauge with the Brennecke Black Magic slugs. That's what they're using as far as ammunition in that. And I think it's very interesting, and I just think that hollow points can get the job done. I know Chuck will argue with me sometimes about that. When I first bought my first Glock 20 back in 2015, I interviewed this guy. He killed a big brown bear on a river with his 10 millimeter and hollow points in it. Now, it wasn't charging. That's a difference. You know, you'd probably want hard cast, but he just shot it a few times on the side. It just took a couple steps and fell over. He was using 10 millimeter hollow points. They go in, they punch in, and they just do all that damage and just dump all that energy. I think hollow points are great and they're humane. Let me know what you guys think. They don't just impact on the surface. They're gonna punch through and then do damage. Now, if you wanna stop something that's charging, yeah, if you get chest shots, they may go in a few inches and blow up, and you may not get the vitals that you want. So that's when you do want the hard cast. It's kind of interesting. Both times that, 2 times I killed a black bear with a rifle. I came in and dispatched it because it always crawled away 100 yards, and then it's terrifying to follow a blood trail on a bear, find that it's still alive and moving, it could attack you. I shot it with my 10 millimeter with extreme penetrators. Both times it took 2 shots. Another time, Chuck killed a black bear with a 7 millimeter. He had this horrible, well, it's not horrible, but at a couple 100 yards, this Barnes ammo isn't great. It was the TSSX, just was making little pinholes through this black bear. I was sitting there yelling, shoot it again, shoot it again. Kept going through it. It crawled off 200 yards. We had to follow the blood trail, and he pulls out his Glock 40 with extreme penetrators, shoots it once in the head. It's like it didn't do anything. shot it a second time, it died, just like the 2 times I did. It took 2 shots. So I think if we would have had hollow points, close range, a headshot like that, it would penetrate and then just blow up, dump the energy. That's what I think. I could be totally wrong. Let me know what you guys think about hollow points and about the firearms and ammunition these officers are using in the field, and they are dispatching game with it fairly well, except for the 55 grain tap. I think they could use something else, but with a couple shots, it's still doing the job. So anyways, I'll have a video on my P365 Legion up tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys.
My name is Chuke. I like to trade my guns just for fun, but now I have none. Oh, look, get shot by a bear, but I don't care. I got a 10mm. Chuke's Outdoor Adventures. Watch you all die every time.